Hello and welcome to another edition of Money Lap on a Wednesday. It's March 19th, 2025. And this is, we say, or as we call it, is the group chat. We're going to dive into a couple bits of NASCAR Cup Series news. There's also a rumor out there that Formula One is planning to potentially go back to V10s. Let's go. That would be amazing. But most importantly, it's a big day here on Money Lap group chat. We got our first guest. We've been promising recurring guest. It's Custer Day here on the Money Lap. He'll join us a little later in the show. We got a lot to chat about. It's a Wednesday. Let's go. Boys, we're here. You know who's missing again?
Landing Castle.
Landing Castle. Didn't show up on this.
Yep.
Had him in person on Monday in New York City. We did that fine, cinematic, amazing thing that we did there. It looked like we filmed it on a camera from 2005, like it was a potato. And then he just didn't show on Wednesday. Are we surprised?
No, not in the slightest bit.
No.
We should point out, for those who are listening, we got AJ Henderson on here, who is our video guy. We got Joshua Mendoza, our producer, here, who you hear each Monday. And we have Cole Custer joining later in the show, which will be fun. He's going to be a recurring guest going forward. Once a month, we're going to get him. So, we're going to have a lot to chat about each and every 4 weeks with that guy. We've got more recurring guests that are going to be coming on to Money Lap here in the coming weeks. So, looking forward to that. Maybe even Kyle Busch will find some time for him finally. He's always waiting. He's always sitting there. We just never seem to figure it out how to get him on.
I don't know. Maybe he actually watches the show and is actually happy he's not coming on here. That's my philosophy. I don't think Cole actually knows what he signed up for. I think you probably undersold what was happening.
Massively. No, he doesn't realize this is the biggest show in America for motorsports. So it's a big deal. No one quite realizes what they're walking into, but they'll find out. They'll learn. They'll learn about it. Guys, there's a bit of chat out there from this past weekend that Kevin Harvick said on his podcast about wanting more horsepower. We've had this discussion a million times in the Money Lap. We all wanted it. Landon and I have talked about wanting more horsepower, but what made it really glaringly obvious was this past weekend, Cup qualifying at Las Vegas, 1.5 miles. That is very high banked, and it is definitely one, though, that is losing grip in terms of it wears the tires and that sort of thing, so you lose that grip over the run. But they were flat out in qualifying in the Cup Series at 1.5 miles. And this isn't 1.5 miles like Atlanta, which is basically a speedway. This is a traditional, true 1.5 miles, bumps, that sort of thing, and they were flat out. Goodyear brought a newer left side tire that had more grip. It did have fall off in the race, but flat out in qualifying, it's just like, come on. Qualifying keeps getting like devalued in some respects. Like I've had that crazy idea for Daytona 500 qualifying where, it's the only qualifying session of the year that's going to get 2.5 million viewers, right? And yet it's just flat out easy. There's not much to it. And I'm like, why wouldn't we work towards making that a show where maybe it's unrestricted and it's well over 200-mile-an-hour laps that are going to be the only time you see a Cup car do that all year for the biggest race and the biggest pole award of the year. It also is the fastest, the most daring, the toughest, that sort of thing. I think that'd be pretty cool.
I think it would be great. I mean, we got these wide ass tires on these cars. And with the little horsepower we have, we got to do something to make it so that they wear out. Obviously, we're going down the path of softer tires, and I think that's a good step forward. But I mean, there's nothing quite like 1,000 horsepower flying by 40 times in one lap. That doesn't make you go, now this is cool. It hits different when it's about half. I don't know. That's just me.
Yeah, I mean, I think the racing side, they've got a great formula right now, so it's working and that sort of thing. And obviously the 1.5 miles are incredible. So it's like, okay, you don't want to mess with that too much. But there's got to be a way to find places that you can interject more horsepower so that everyone isn't just posting clips from 2004 and 2005 qualifying laps and being like, look, or even up to like 2013, 2014, look what they took away from us. Come on. How dare they? That sort of thing. Like, I think it's just, there's gonna be, and I know with all the blowback will be, which is like, oh, it costs $1 bajillion. The engine builders won't do it. The teams won't do it, blah, 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 blah. But I mean, if you can sell it for the idea of like, hey, this is for the best content possible, like the races are for the best, you make the package for the best racing, finding pockets where it matters in a single lap, which is something that in racing we all value, and race car drivers value ourselves on qualifying, especially places where we make a difference. We are all so in tune with like, okay, well, how fast was I? Where was I missing? That sort of thing, because it matters. It's how we value ourselves in some respects. How fast are you as a driver over one lap? What does that look like? What is your ability in one lap? I just think that's where qualifying is continually being devalued, and to be going to Las Vegas, which in the Xfinity car is an awesome lap. Like, it is, you're getting out of the throttle. There's times where people will talk about, like, into the nighttime a couple years ago, they were like, man, maybe I could be flat, but it would be so hard to do. And you actually have to like balance throttle, tap a little brake sometimes to get the car down to the bottom, and it slides all the way out on 4. And in turns 1 and 2, you got to decide if you go below the bumps, above the bumps. Like, it's a lap. It's one of the last great qualifying laps in NASCAR. Similar to Charlotte, I would guess. Charlotte's a really hard qualifying lap. But like, I want that all the time. I want to see that. Hey, can we play the clip of Harvick?
Yeah, let me get that up real quick. I for what it's worth, I completely agree. I think that overall there's so much to a really fun qualifying lap that makes qualifying interesting to watch. And when they're going flat out and you got data on screen and you can see exactly where they're at comparative to somebody else, it makes it boring. But Kevin Harvick on Happy Hour, he came in and said this.
I'll just say it. It's absolutely ridiculous that we went to an unrestricted 1.5 miles and they qualified wide open. What in the world do we need to do to get more horsepower? This screams horsepower to me. I've heard all the things about different manufacturers and different this and different that. I hear all those stories, but I haven't seen it. Put some damn power in the cars. Wide open qualifying at an unrestricted 1.5 mile racetrack is dumb. If your shoes gave you blisters on your foot and they felt uncomfortable all the time, would you keep putting your same shoes on?
No, I would not.
I don't know why we keep putting the same shoes on. Why can't we just fix the damn problem? We've spent millions of dollars on aerodynamics, and now we're qualifying wide open. They made the left side tire that much softer, and they're just hammer down. Digging. Give me some more power.
There you go.
Tune them up. How much power you want, Kev?
I want as much as you'll give me. Just give me anything. Anything would be a step in the right direction. Okay. Let's take a step in the right direction, please.
Love it.
There you go.
Yeah. 100%.
Wow.
Let's get more. More. MOAR. More.
So you either got to do that, or you need to allow the team to just trim out the car like an insane amount just for qualifying. You don't want to mess up the race package, but honestly, that'd probably make the racing better too.
Well,
but horsepower is more cool than. But like, I know it's probably not in the rules like currently that you can, but why can't we be like IndyCar where they trim it out for qualifying?
Well, you can't. Well, there's just not enough levers to pull. Like, they're already doing that. So, there's just
I'm saying like you're saying
just
like
lay
you have
down
an
the
inch
spoiler.
spoiler most. You can have an inch spoiler for qualifying. You have to use an inch spoiler for qualifying, like something like that. But that point is like just add horsepower into it.
This car makes a lot of its grip down underneath it. Right?
Low. Yeah, true.
Yeah, it's in that
no
diffuser and the underbody arrow. So it's not going to have the solve that you're looking for. At the end of the day, they're just not going fast enough down the straightaways to have to bleed speed in the corners. And that's just the equation. And so there you end up with flat out, right? And I just think it's the pinnacle of stock car racing. It's the top of the game. We want to see them driving. We want to see them, putting it on the edge. Yeah, it doesn't fit with me. It's fine in trucks, even if Xfinity had, a qualifying that's flat out. It's like, whatever. It's not going to happen. Those cars have too little grip. But
could you just take the tapered spacer off for qualifying? I mean,
well, I'm not an engine guy. But I would be fully for that. Now they'll say like, oh, the engine will just explode. All the exhaust back pressure and everything's would be all messed up. And I'm sure there's engine people that will get in the comments and tell me why that's a dumb thought. But
look,
to your point, I do believe, in IndyCar, the Indy 500, they do the deal where on Fast Friday they turn up the boost for the first time. Those are turbocharged engines, so they turn up the boost. They gain something like 100 horsepower, 150 horsepower, something crazy. And then you go into qualifying, it's the fastest lap you will do all year, right? Like it's the craziest lap or laps. They do 4 of them, obviously, in Indy 500 qualifying. But, that makes it special.
Parker, if a guy in a Honda Civic with a laptop can do it, why can't we? I feel like every time you go to a track and you see the guy with the Honda Civic and a laptop, he's going to be setting heaters down the drag strip. Why can't we do that?
Are you talking like Fast and the Furious, the first one where he's like in the side and he's like just the laptops in the side being like, you're going to blow the manifold.
You see the guy with the Supra, he's clearly got a 1,000 horsepower 2JZ motor built. But the guy with the Honda Civic and the laptop, that's the one that makes me sweat. So I don't know. I think we could do it. Just map a new ECU profile. It's easy.
AJ, do they have this problem in e-scooter?
They have bigger problems in e-scooter, buddy. But no, they don't. I mean, I will say, in qualifying an e-scooter, they're probably not flat out.
No,
so
definitely not. They're on road courses, or wherever you would call it. Go-kart track.
So maybe NASCAR just needs to do only road courses. Maybe that's the solution.
No.
Oh.
You're an idiot.
Oh,
That's
okay.
stupid.
Well,
That's the dumbest thing I ever heard. Wow.
Well,
This is
that's
primarily
that
over
would make
mixed
Kevin
series.
Harvick happy.
No, not all road courses. No. No, we got a good amount of them. I like the mix. I think the schedule, we've talked about this a million times on this show. I mean, the schedule is one of the most diverse in all of motorsports. When it had a dirt track, it was every type of track there was. So you can't get any more diverse.
We need a figure 8 course. I'm a little disappointed we still don't have one of those. Like the Clash should be a figure 8 course, and biggest miss in motorsports history right there.
If you're listening right now and you want to just stop listening, I get it.
Go for it.
Once again, the stupidest thing I've heard all time. Okay, this is our second chat or third? This is our third
one.
Parker,
dude, what kind of host are you?
Jesus. Have you ever watched figure 8 racing?
I have watched figure 8 racing. Yes.
Is that not the most intense racing there is in the world?
Well, I wouldn't have used the word intense. I would use like moronic.
Okay, tell me this. What's more intense? Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen slinging shoulders at Abu Dhabi, or cousin Bubba taking out his old Ford Ranger to the figure 8 track?
I'm gonna go with Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton vying for the world championship for sure.
You're such a normie.
No, I'm more of a purist in that like super speedways are essentially at times a demo derby, which a figure 8 is a demo derby.
Yeah, it's close enough, really. Yeah.
So like you
both take
really
skills.
already have that. You have that now, but yeah, I'm sure it takes skill, like timing the pass through in the center of the track for sure. But when you just get like if you're super fast and you just get nailed through the crossover, like I don't know if that was skill, luck.
That's a lead change, baby.
Idiotic. That's a lead change. Tony Stewart would be proud of you guys. Hey, the other big news this week was Denny Hamlin and Joe Gibbs Racing announced a new sponsor, Progressive, joining them for 18 races, becoming basically the primary partner. Good looking car. I did text Denny, and I said this on the Monday show. You're welcome. I've been a Progressive customer since I got my license 17 years ago, essentially. So
wow.
I feel like I've basically funded this whole deal.
Probably,
I've made this happen.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't know what your rates are, but they're probably high enough that you have funded it. Parker,
well, I think my rates get like have bought like 1.01% of this sponsorship, but like, hey, I'm an equity holder in this sponsorship is the way I look at it.
There you go.
In this. Yeah.
You can ask for hot passes now?
I'm thinking about it. Yeah.
Okay.
See if they could let me go sit on the box. I actually want to be the crew chief for the day, sort of thing.
Oh,
Yeah, like
So
let
you're
me
gonna
come
do
in
the tire strategy. You're gonna keep all those softies for the end of the race.
Yeah, we ain't using those to the last 2 runs. Hold on, buddy. Just keep us on the lead lap.
What kind of what insurance company do you use, Josh?
I use Costco's insurance company.
Costco's.
Yeah.
Costco has car insurance?
That
Yes,
is
they do.
shocking.
It is
Wow.
incredibly competitive compared to everything else.
That's wild.
I've had the philosophy now I'm willing to change my philosophy depending on if they're sponsoring show. But companies that don't, put ads on TV and don't put wraps on cars tend to have cheaper rates. So that's been my philosophy. So
Wow. I use Roots. I got it after they started sponsoring Bubba. I don't know if they still
Wow, it
do.
worked.
If they don't,
this is
I'm getting rid of
awkward.
them. Oh wait, what?
It's just,
Were they getting like sued or something?
No. That you guys both are.
Oh, you
using
have
NASCAR.
the non-NASCAR one. Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, you're a hater.
Well,
you just broke all the marketing stuff out there that's like NASCAR fans care about the
I
sponsors.
spent $130 on an oil change the other day just because it was Mobile One. Okay.
Wow.
Dude, you got scammed.
I'm trying to support NASCAR. No, Landon said I didn't. So
Yeah, no,
Landon
Landon
knows what
looked
he's
at
talking
it.
about.
Yeah, well,
Oh,
you
he
had
looked-
more than just an oil change. You had other stuff
okay.
going on there. Yeah.
Oh man, they check my air pressure and it's crazy.
Did
Well,
they
no,
tell
they
you
also
your
they
tires
checked
still?
they checked for the unicorn poking holes in his exhaust, and thankfully there wasn't one. So
Yeah. That's
What do
good.
you?
I can't say that's from Dane Cook, who's probably before your guys' time. I don't know if you know Dane Cook, but he had a funny joke about that.
Sorry, I was born in this century, so.
No,
I've heard of the name before.
Actually, that's a
He
lie.
wasn't.
I
Was he a Was that a motorsports guy?
no.
Is he like a comedian?
Yeah, he's
Okay.
comedian.
I know he's one of those two.
There's somebody out there in the comments that will know Dane Cook.
Parker, was he
1000%.
broadcasting with sound and color yet, or was he still in the black and white television time?
It's probably like the 90s,
Did
right?
anyone cut his mic off at some point? Like just
What is that
literally.
hat? Why are you wearing a Yankees hat too, dude? Get out of here. He's just like trying to piss everybody off today.
He's just on a warpath. He's not using sponsors in NASCAR or racing. He's wearing a Yankees hat, which I don't mind the Yankees hat. If I was a baseball fan, I'd probably be a Yankees fan. Although I have the Oakland A's stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
Guardians all day, baby.
You're wearing the Sacramento A's gear, and I'm wearing the New York Yankees gear.
Well, I'm not wearing it right now.
Wow,
well, you could be. You could be.
Yeah.
You should come out.
Polar opposites. Polar opposites, land-wise and current franchise, not
Positioning.
almost holding-wise.
One thing I was just thinking about with speaking of sponsorship and the progressive deal. So one of the things happening in the Cup Series is probably 10, 15 years ago, the going rate was upwards of $600,000 a race, some as high as $750. Dale Jr. was $1 million a race, basically.
Wow.
And those sponsorships, they show you what I've heard some of the rates are nowadays is more like $200,000 to $300,000. Now remember per race. Now remember the thing that's happened is obviously with the charter money going way up this year, it still equals the same budget, but it sounds to me like inside the NASCAR Cup Series, a full-time sponsor comes out to 10 to 12 million essentially. So, it's far different than what it was, I would say, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, of course. But with the charter money going up and everything, you still end up in the same budget range of like 20 to 28 million, depending on the car, and with OEM money and all that stuff. So,
Parker,
they're slowly getting what they want.
Parker, can you give me some context? Back in 2017, what was like a going rate in 2017? Because that's when my family was sponsoring an Xfinity, and I kind of wanted to compare.
Humble brag.
Numbers.
Humble brag.
What? No, that wasn't. I just know the numbers for Xfinity comparatively.
Xfinity hasn't changed. It's going to cost you about $185,000 to $150,000 to $200,000, depending on the car. If you want to be in a top car, yeah.
Okay.
That's what they want to sell. That's what they spend. So that's what they would want to sell it for. Unfortunately, no one really does anymore because it's just not. You don't have that ability. So
you could be on a Cup car for about $4 million more per year now.
I think certain Cup cars, I think they're all over the range. But I think you look at it. Some don't like looking at per race because they think that that kind of devalues the product, and it's really about the holistic whole deal, right? So like
Yeah.
maybe one of the things with the Progressive joining later in the season with the 11 would be like, hey, because you joined now as opposed to like before the season and locked in for the full year, you're only going to get these assets, right? And not get everything you would get as if you were the primary partner from the start of the season, because obviously you've already missed the Daytona 500. Maybe there's the hauler stuff, there's other intangibles, there's social media things, there are internal things in terms of B2B that you probably would say, hey, you can have access to those later, that sort of thing. So like the way these teams design these is, talking in a per race capacity, especially in the Cup Series, is probably antiquated because it's more about all the other stuff, right, than just the car. We
Yep.
still do that sometimes because it gives you a good idea of like, oh, what is the rate these days? Xfinity is going to be a lot of those. A lot of the single sponsors you see, obviously, you got to kind of do that in a per race thing.
Mhm.
But I think most teams would be aiming to have more partnerships that are less about like, hey, you have this per race, and more like, hey, it costs this much to have all these assets and us to do all this stuff, right? And the driver to
Yeah.
commit to doing ads and social media promos and so on and so forth. So it's more, talking about it is like in terms of just like the wrap on the car and a per race thing. It's just, it's not correct anymore. Like I
Mhm.
brought that up because it's a nice way to sort of conceptualize it, but I'm sure this deal with Progressive and Joe Gibbs involves a lot more than just that wrap on the car, and therefore even, they do quote unquote 18 races, that's half the season. They might look at that being like, hey, that's actually 6 months of a deal, right? That we're going to be doing all these other things and all this other behind, all this other content and that sort of stuff. And so it's less about like, hey, you have 18 races, and more about like you have 6 months to utilize this platform.
Denny
time.
and Progressive commercials with Flo and that
With
other
Flo,
guy.
I know. Will Flo come to a race,
Mhm.
you think?
Dude, Flo is like
100%.
the Flo is I mean this in the most respectful way possible. Flo might be more famous than Denny Hamlin. So
Oh, I would
this
think
might
so.
work out. Yeah, this might work out great for Denny. He's
Do you
like going to
think-
get a whole new platform of fans.
Do you think Flo might start a Cup Series race?
Yeah, I don't think
no.
she would be approved.
I mean, waving a green flag, that could technically count as starting a Cup Series race, just not in
That I
it.
could see.
Oh yes,
That I could absolutely
yes, true.
see. Yes,
That'd be cool.
Flo may be doing that for sure. That makes more sense. I actually had a driver text me today who had done some Cup starts a couple years ago, and when the whole Mike Wallace deal went down, this is an Xfinity driver who's full time in Xfinity. He actually went and asked like, "Hey, am I eligible to be in the Cup Series?" just to check, and they were like, "No." So it is, we've talked about the licensing system and the need for a system that is probably more objective and less subjective. And I think, for him, it was like a little confusing because he's like, wait, I race full time, but how did I lose my eligibility to be in Cup? So
Did you guys talk about the?
Go ahead.
Did you guys talk about the Casey Mears tweet?
we didn't actually. Bring
Okay,
it up.
about how he said that he was basically. People were like, "Oh, how did you get approved? I'm not Mike Wallace." And he was like, "Well, basically, NASCAR wants you to go from a short track to an intermediate to a super speedway, I believe." So he's like, "That's why I'm doing Martinsville."
Mm.
So I'll have to find the tweet, or if Josh can find it.
I
So it
found
sounds like maybe he long term he wants to start doing super speedways or something more.
But doesn't he want to get to 500 starts? Isn't that his deal, Casey Mears?
Oh, okay.
He's trying to get there. I mean, I don't disagree that. I mean, if you haven't been in a race car for a couple of years and you haven't been in the series, I'll be mean enough to myself to say like, hey, if in 2 years I'm like, hey, I want to go start a Cup race, and I haven't been full time or I haven't won, like I would not be surprised to be like, hey, you can't do that. This is the top of the game, right? So I
Yeah.
just think, I go back to the unintended consequence of a license system would, on the flip side of stopping people from being there, it would give opportunities to people that are eligible and give them value, to drivers that are eligible in, times where, say, for whatever reason, a driver is injured and not able to race, having being a driver that's a backup driver that is eligible to have a cup license across all tracks would be a value, right? So like that sort of thing to me adds more credence to the idea of like, hey, it's a two-way street. It one stops people that probably haven't done enough to be there or haven't, aren't meeting the requirements. And it also allows people that are to have opportunities potentially that they wouldn't have gotten otherwise if others could just come in there. And I think the other side of that is it's content. Like if you see, hey, you just became eligible to be in the Cup Series. If it's a super objective system that's just, hey, accomplish these things and amass these points to be eligible for a license. Obviously, I think NASCAR would always hold the reserve the ability to just say no or yes. But if there was actually a system, you could kind of track that. I mean, it's more content. It's more things for us to discuss on Money Lap, more things for everyone to chat about. So it's like,
bam,
there's so many layers to it. I think that make a lot of sense. That it's just this conversation. It's so subjective and arbitrary, and there's as Landon alluded to, possibly some parts of being antiquated in respect to short tracks or the size of the track being the determining factor and that sort of thing. I think it's time for a hard revamp and adding something that we can track and everyone can pay attention to and see why or when people are eligible. So, I think it's just the path they got to go. It is what it is. Hey,
Parker.
guys. Yes.
Yeah.
Do we
see?
I think I see it. Yep.
Uh-huh.
Yep. I think we
Look
should
who
do
it
it.
is.
Cool. Custer's here.
Hey.
Oh, the Money Lap, my man, the people's champ. Appreciate you being here, buddy.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you guys for having me on.
Yeah, we don't have Landon today. We apologize. He heard
Dang
you were
it.
coming. He just said, nah, I'm not showing up. So typical Landon. You do get Josh, who's our producer, AJ, who's our video guy. We're doing these on Wednesdays, a little more of a group chat sort of thing. So we appreciate you joining us. Before we get into anything else, dude, I just have a very important question. What is your lift point?
Oh man, it's varying very frequently. This year, just trying to figure everything out. I feel like I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum. I'm in your shoes. I feel like when you went back to Xfinity.
And so some background on that. So you and I was back in Xfinity in 23. You came there as well, and we were at Martinsville one day, and I'm like, hey, Cole, before qualifying, like, what are you lifting? And you were like, I'm not telling you. And I think you went and won the pole, and I qualified like 18th. And I was like, see, I wasn't a threat anyway.
Well, I'm at that point now. I'm trying to figure everything out.
I know, man. It's been a tough start. What's happening? What is going on?
I think at the end of the day, for us, we've had speed at times. It's not like it's been just a total lack of speed every single weekend. It's just a matter of putting it all together and doing what works for us. It's a whole new group, pretty much whole new team. So trying to figure out with all the new information that we have and trying to work with RFK, just trying to figure out what works for us and how do we need to progress throughout the weekends, because these cars are extremely sensitive. So you really have to get, dialed in on what works for you and how you need to attack the weekend. So I think now that we've been to every single type of track, I think we'll be able to really hone in on things. It's just, going to those tracks for the first time as a team, you try and soak up as much information as you can and kind of go forward from there. And to not help things, I think we've got in a lot of bad luck for the most part. We're getting wrecked at Atlanta, getting wrecked at Phoenix, definitely didn't help us. So those took two races away from us.
And is it like you're back in the Cup Series for a second time, and you came down to Xfinity and won a championship, won races in both years. Is it different for you? Like, I know personally, getting to do a series, then go out of that series and go back and then go to another one, it does change my perspective a little bit. Like, if you were having this bad start 5 years ago, 6 years ago, panicking a little bit more than you are now because you're like, oh, I've been through this. I've seen this. We can turn this around.
Yeah, I would say so for sure. When you're a rookie in the Cup Series and you're not running the way you want to, it is like the world is ending. Like you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know how to fix it. All you know is that you're not running good. And you can't really figure out that you're trying to figure out the reason why. We're now kind of second time around, having more confidence in what I can do and kind of knowing better, I feel like, just how to directionally make things go in the right way. And how to turn, weekends that you're not happy with into better weekends in the future is definitely the biggest difference, I think, since the last time I ran Cup. Just knowing how to progress and make your team better throughout a year, hopefully. So it's definitely, for the start of this season, we've taken in a lot of information, and it's just a matter of now progressing and getting that all better.
Yeah, it makes sense. I do have good news, though. You are ahead of a 7-time champion in points. But the bad news is
we can say that.
Yeah, the bad news is he's done one race and you're at 5. So we got to this, he's got that might be some of that 7-time champ, golden horseshoe stuff right there to stay that close. Who knows? He did have a good finish at the Daytona 500, which I know you and I talked about this at Coda, but I just thought it was fascinating. End of the Daytona 500, you're there on the last lap, get a massive run, pop the outside into turn 3. You can see clean track at the Daytona 500. Have we thought about that a lot since and what that moment was like, and just potentially seeing the lead of the Daytona 500 on the final lap?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be lying if I said I haven't thought about it, but at the end of the day, I made that move, going for it on the backstretch, and I don't, I think that's the only thing looking back. I wish I waited for the front stretch. At the end of the day, I had such a big run and the 35 had spun. So that kind of puts you in the situation where you're thinking, man, I need to get to the lead now, because you don't know exactly when the caution is going to come out or the next guy who's going to spin. So, I made the move I made on the backstretch, and, wish I waited, but it is what it is. And then with the wreck, it was just kind of, everybody going for the same spot, in the Daytona 500. I think I was trying to side draft Denny really hard, and then going down the side draft, the 19 got into my left rear and turned me into him. And from there, we're all wrecking. So definitely didn't turn out how we wanted to, but it was awesome for our team to have a shot to win the Daytona 500 our first run out.
Yeah, I feel that, man. I saw that moment for you, and I was like, man, I don't care what happens, in terms of the wreck, whatever. And, I think it's always smart to look back like you did and say, hey, you know what, I would actually time this differently. Like, I think I could use that run in a different place, which is what we all do, right? Especially at Super Speedway racing. You got to go watch tape. You've got to understand, hey, why did that not play out the way I wanted? Why did I end up in that position? That sort of thing. But the Daytona 500, it's like anything kind of goes on the last lap. And any super speedway potentially, but that one, I think more than ever, it's like, especially with the way this racing is now, where you're riding around, saving fuel, whatever, and then it's full go and everyone's slam drafting as hard as they can. If you generate a run, you almost have to take it, because it's the Daytona 500 in front of you, and you don't know where that wreck could happen that you're not in, and suddenly you're the leader and the caution's out, and it's game over. You got it.
Yeah, I mean, that's always going to be, I feel like, the hard thing about super speedway racing that everybody loves and hates is that, it is really tight racing, but at the same time, it's going to come down to pushing and shoving, side drafting, and usually 9 tabs out of 10, everybody's going to wreck with 5 to go. It just becomes crazy. So, and it's just a matter of that racing and just how it is, how hard you have to push, and just how you get to the end of the race. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure we'll go to Talladega and we'll do it all over again.
What's different this time in Cup for you? Like, I know you're talking about new team and you guys are building that sort of stuff, but like, what is different this time around? What is different about Cup in 2025 than it was in 2022, if anything at all?
Would you say about me or about the series in general?
The series, anything that sticks out to you, you're just like, this is kind of different than it was for every reason.
I think for me, just having the experience this time around has definitely been huge. Just knowing, how to progress things, I feel like, and know how to, work with your team to hopefully make things better. I think that's a big part of what's different for me this time. And I think also with the series is just how competitive it is. It was already extremely competitive from 2020 to 2022, and I ran before. But now, I mean, it is legitimately, 34, 35 cars out there that can go win any given weekend, with good drivers, good teams, the cars, everybody's started to figure out these cars. So it's really tight competition. You have to be on your game every weekend.
And I don't want to put you in the spot here, but I'm just gonna have to do it. We're 5 races in. There's a lot of with that competitiveness means you race around certain people often and you end up in little altercations. Are we mad at anyone right now? There's been some there's been some anger through the series, which is good. It's great for us on the outside watching. So, I mean, you don't have to name names, but if you wanted to, we would totally take naming names of just like, yeah, I'm not really happy with that person. Or they, we seem to be running around this person a lot.
No, I mean, I don't have any huge issues with anybody yet. I think
Good. All right.
especially this early in the season, there have been times where I could be mad at somebody and could drag things out into weeks ahead. But at the end of the day, we got bigger things to worry about. Like I'm worried about trying to get ourselves up the pecking order and, better in the points and where we need to be running. So at this point, I'm not worried about settling feuds or doing anything like that. So we'll take what it gives us right now and kind of move forward.
Well, you've always been a really nice guy, too, about settling feuds. Like when I moved you out of the way at Texas 2023, you took it pretty nicely. So I appreciated that. On a restart, I was like, hey, man, you get it further. You get more chances up there than I do. I really needed it that time. I had the new tires. I had to go. So
yeah, I've never seen the bump and run at Texas, but I saw it that day.
I didn't know it existed either. It wasn't really until it happened. It wasn't like I went in there like, oh, I'm going to use the bump and run. It was like, oh, this is okay, that worked. Okay. Sorry, dude. I didn't really mean it, but I got to go. So I was surprised by that as well. So one thing that we were just chatting about earlier was Kevin Harvick brought this up. And I think it's interesting because, Las Vegas qualifying in Xfinity is a really cool lap, right? Like when we go there in Xfinity car the last 2 years, it's like a fast lap. You got to avoid either go above or below the bumps in 1 and 2. You got to wrap the line in 3 and 4, but the car gets light on exit and slides out. And then Cup this year qualifying was flat out. Is that like, what's your thoughts on, I just feel like top of the game, you guys shouldn't be at a 1.5 miles flat out. Like there's got to be a better, I don't know. It just doesn't feel like to me the Cup Series with the caliber drivers and teams and being the elite level stock car racing, like that's, I don't know. It doesn't feel great to me. Like what was your thoughts on going to a 1.5 miles and it was flat out in qualifying, or were you still flat out?
Yeah, I was very surprised by that.
Yep.
I mean, I would agree, there should be more off throttle time. It should be harder, I think in qualifying. But it was wild because I remember in 2022, I ran Vegas in the next gen car and it was edgy. I mean, everybody was still figuring out these cars and you didn't really know what to expect going through the bumps and you couldn't go wide open. And really since that, it's been 3 years now and the cars, I don't think the aero package has changed a ton or the motor package, but the teams have just figured out how to make these cars go through the corners better. And it is locked down now. So it's pretty surprising. It definitely feels a lot more stable than what cars used to be like when they first brought the next gen car in when I was doing it. So we'll see where it progresses. I think as a driver, you're always going to be like, man, we should have more horsepower and we should all do these things. But it comes down to the TV and, what makes a good race also. So you got to have the combination of both.
And I know that's the frustrating part because the racing is badass at the 1.5 miles. Like it's wild. Like watching you guys, and I want you to take me through this, like those restarts where you guys go 3-4 wide, and especially at a 1.5 miles like this, because you're all trying to get the sliver of cleaner air to the front of that car. Like in Xfinity, we would do a little bit of that, but we could get away more with like affecting each other aero-wise. You guys, it looks like, are just looking for pure, like if there's not a car in that space, I can put my nose there and get slightly cleaner air than I am behind this other car. Is that correct?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, if you can find any clean air, that's the name of the game because then you can go forward instead of going backwards in somebody else's wake. So anywhere you can find clean air, anywhere you can take it, you're going to take it. It is. I mean, I even thought after the race, I was like, man, this is like truck racing. I remember, it felt before like it was, there was a good amount of off throttle time and, you were able to kind of work the car and let the car, trying to figure out what it wants to do. But now it's just how much throttle can you carry and how can you find clean air? Because the cars are fairly stable. So it's all about just trying to find that clean air and keep it in the gas.
Do you think that's the advancement in the setups and understanding the cars, or was it, they did have softer tires probably since 2022? Like that might be the big difference maker in some respect.
Yeah, I would say so for sure. The tires have probably gotten softer. They've gotten better with the setups. So I think at the end of the day, the cars have just started driving better and better, and it's made the field just tighter and tighter.
Yeah, it's super tight. It's wild. And I think that's like when I look at like the lap times in the middle of a run and everyone's running within like a couple thousands of each other on certain laps, and just like, oh my God, that is so difficult. It's so tough. And like with that, being you have the RFK affiliation with you guys, but you are still, a single car in that respect. Is that a different vibe for you in terms of just like, hey, when you last did this, you had multiple teammates. Now you have that affiliation. And I'm sure you possibly work with them closely, but in a lot of respects, like Haas factory team only has one car out there, and it's you.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely different. When before we had 3 other teammates, and there was a lot going on, and trying to figure out how to get through all that information to figure out who's doing what and trying to figure out what's going to work for you. Where having one, you're able to hone in on things a lot more. I feel like, but at the same time, there's still a lot to work through, and trying to figure out how we need to correlate our cars compared to RFK and how to work in the right direction. To make our cars better throughout the year, and just how it improve our whole team. But I feel like, we have a great group and everybody's working extremely hard. So I think we're going to move in the right direction. It's just a matter of getting some more races under our belt.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, you don't have, I guess because of this, you don't have teammates. So something we saw this past weekend that was super fascinating was Christopher Bell leaves his pit stall. They realize the left front is loose, and he goes into Chase Briscoe's pit stall and gets it actually secured. How shocking was that to you? And what is your thoughts on that and sort of like what you saw there and were like, oh, that's interesting? Or were you like, we should probably change that?
I mean, that's the world we live in right now, with the wheels that come off and how big the penalty is if you lose the wheel. Yeah, you're going to try and stop in your teammate's box. You're going to try and back up down pit road. You're going to do whatever you got to do to try and not have it come off. I don't know the best way to fix it. I feel like that, as long as you do it in a reasonable manner and you're not coming around other cars or, you're not going to hit anybody, I think that's okay to maybe stop in your teammate's box and, have them change the wheel out. But I don't know. I'm not NASCAR. That's a really tough spot to be in. At the end of the day, we just have to figure out how to get the wheels to stay in the car is the biggest thing.
Yeah, I know that would just be the better thing if they just didn't fall off. Where do you guys pit crews come from? Is it RFK or do you guys have your own?
It's a lot of SHR guys
that
were on the 10 car for the most part last year. And it's a mix, but mostly RFK guys. I mean, SHR.
Yeah, and losing 2 is just so detrimental when there's, then you have to see some of these other teams, they got to take it from their affiliate teams or where their pit crews are being utilized by other teams. And then those teams lose some of the people they want. And it's just like a compounding effect, makes it harder and harder, which is, a tough thing, especially when you go back to just like, it's so competitive and pit road is so competitive. It's insane how fast it is, which is wild these days, the speed of what these pit stops are happening at. I'm wondering though, did you get your Emmy from our pit boss cinematic amazing thing we did for the pre-race show at where were we? Phoenix. Did you get your Emmy yet?
I'm still waiting on it, and I still want one of those steaks. You got to eat the steaks on the pit boss, and I didn't.
I know.
So I still want that steak.
But you know what? I got a ton of shit from people for not grabbing it. Do you remember how hot that thing? Like, in my defense, you walked by that grill; those were really hot, and I didn't. So I grabbed it with like the tongs on the bone. And everyone's like, oh, you had to grab it, whatever. They're like, show me photos of Austin Hill, who won like one of the beef races, and he's holding the whole thing off the. And I was like, well, that was sitting around. This is hot on the grill. That's an actual grill going like 1,000 degrees.
I get it. Yeah, I'm not going to hold it against you. I wouldn't have done it.
Thank you. At least I got some support. I needed like you and Sheldon to get out there and be like, no, we were there. This thing was actually very hot. And, like I was like, this is not fair that I'm being called a wussy, because I'm like, dude, this thing was, I would have burned my hand. I was like, it was a great bit, but I'm not going to burn my hand for it. Before we let you go, there's a lot of discussion, and I don't know how much you follow Formula One and other racing out there, but the FIA has started fining drivers, especially in the World Rally Championship, for swearing on their radios or in interviews. What would you do if we started to have a rule like that? You couldn't swear on your radio. Could you hold back from pressing the button?
Oh, yeah, I guess. I mean, I understand that rule. For regular interviews, obviously you don't want that kind of problem just like on TV, saying that kind of stuff. But the radios, I don't know. I've kind of been a person. I feel like the radio is the radio. Like that's your team. Like you're able to kind of say what you want within reason. So I don't know. I don't know what I would do. I don't want to get fined, so I would probably
No, no,
not say
I don't want to
anything.
get fined.
But at the end of the day, I feel like the radio is the radio, and you should be able to say what you want.
Yeah, this game's tough enough. We don't need fines for what we're saying. I think a little bit. It's already hard, right? It's already difficult. And more fines. That's just it's a slippery slope. So, my man, we appreciate you coming on. This has been awesome. So we're just committing you once a month. You're going to join us here. That's what I'm hearing, essentially.
That's the plan. I'm looking forward to it.
Let's go, my man. All right. So you got 4 weeks basically to the next time be a little higher in the points. How high, let's put it out there. Let's put it in the universe a little bit. How much higher are we going to be when you join us again in 4 weeks, you think?
I think if we could be around the top 25, I'd be happy. We're starting from the bottom. We're ground zero. We're going from the
bottom. Yeah, you got to start playing the Drake, start from the bottom, but now we're here. We'll make that your intro song next time because when you moved up. All right, buddy. Appreciate you coming on, man. Have a good week. Good luck in Homestead.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Rock on. Good dude.
Yeah, absolutely.
What'd you learn? What'd you guys learn?
It's very interesting to hear his perspective about the. I was interested in the nuances of the next gen and how it's changed and how teams are kind of keeping up with it. So that was neat. And after, I'll let Josh speak his part, and then I have something to add about the pit boss thing. But I'll let Josh answer your question first.
It's interesting his perspective on the stopping in another person's stall. I like his philosophy on, let's just get it fixed. Not like obviously keep the wheel on there, but he isn't looking at it as like, oh, they stopped in a teammate's box. That's a competitive disadvantage. I think going forward, like if NASCAR deems that fair play, which to be determined, they haven't said anything yet. And I don't think anyone is that upset about it. Everyone's just kind of been like, oh, that's interesting. That's a different dynamic we didn't think about. I feel like there'll start to be agreements just like at any super speedway race where, a Ford can stop in any Ford stall. You'll be the designated stop stall if you're the farthest forward on pit road. Just be prepared. I feel like that's going to become the most likely thing of like, don't take 100%. A Chevy out of the race. So,
yep. I think you'll just see the furthest forward of each manufacturer's and be like, hey, as long as they're not pitting, you can stop in that stall. And they'll know what to do. If you suddenly stop in your stall, if it's Justin Haley in the 7 car and he suddenly pulls into, let's name another Chevy out there. Kyle Busch. Kyle Larson's pit. Well, that would make sense because he's kind of a Hendrick B team. So I was going to say even more off the side. A Trackhouse, Ross Chastain's #1, who's pitted at 3 to the exit. It's like they'll know what to do. That's what's going to happen.
What if we end up with the situation where it's like F1 and like you're waiting for somebody to get out of, like Justin Haley and you're waiting for like Kyle Larson to get out of Ross Chastain's pit box so you can then also get yours tighten?
Well, the only thing I'd say is if we get a rash of people pitting in other people's pit boxes, I would assume there's going to be a rule that's like, hey, you got to actually now just service your car by your crew members. Yeah, because it just grows and grows.
I'd be so sad if they did that. I personally think it's awesome that another crew is going over there and fixing your own problem. I think it also makes choosing your pit stall an interesting dynamic of like, obviously everyone wants that first pit stall because there's benefits to being that very first pit stall, but you don't want to, if you can avoid it, don't be the stall that's farthest forward, because at least you have a bailout plan in case you make a mistake on your pit stop.
Yep. Well, let's what's that? What's your second thing?
Before we move on.
Yep.
I was on YouTube last week and I was like, oh, Sheldon Creed's uploading vlogs. So I clicked on it and it was the behind the scenes of your pit boss like bit
Cinematic
sketch thing, whatever.
amazing movie that we made. Yeah.
Yes, and they included in it when you go to grab it, and you're like, "Oh, that's hot." Do you guys have gloves? And I thought, who picks up a steak with gloves? And then two, they gave you tongs, and you had something to say about the tongs. I forget. I'll post it in our chat. We don't have to watch it, but you guys can watch it on your own. Anybody at home, just go to Sheldon Creed's YouTube. I thought it was pretty neat.
Good find. I didn't know he was doing. Oh no, I did know he was doing vlogs. You told me about that.
I think he might have done last year.
What time did Parker burn his hand? That's the question I have.
All right. Well, let's move. You guys look for that. Let's keep ripping through some of the biggest.
It's like literally 30 seconds into the video.
Oh.
Oh wow. Yeah, this is perfect. Yeah, look at that. Parker here.
You can play.
Hold on. Let me unmute it. It's not great audio.
Okay, got it. Can I try?
Oh, here he goes.
Oh.
Damn, those look good. Save for later. People's kid. Cool Custer exchange right there. Everyone's down here before the race. Hold on. How do I get this?
Okay, maybe it was before 30 seconds.
Oh,
all right. Like in the first 10. I ruined it.
Yeah,
I found it. Okay,
cut that off. Cut this off.
Oh, somebody's a little embarrassed.
Oh, look at you grabbing it with the little fingers, little T-Rex claw.
All right, boys. Get it under
okay, what are we talking about next? I just want to point out one more thing. Sorry to derail everything. I didn't mention it when Cole was here, but I'm now 2 for 2 on using NASCAR products because of the route insurance thing earlier. And I use Haas machines every day at work. So I'm 2 for 2 now. Yes.
Wow, you should have said something. We should have known that.
I should have.
Well,
I didn't
he'll
think
be back
about
in
it.
4 weeks. You can tell him then.
I'll tell him.
Yeah, save that one. Remember it. Write it down. Plaster it on your forehead. Do something with that. We need that connection. He needs to know.
Do something useful.
Is AJ a NASCAR plant? Just like Parker and Landon is paid by NASCAR? Am I the only one that isn't paid here?
We're gonna slowly get you into the fold.
No, it's awkward. No. AJ, remember the meeting? You can't tell him. You can't tell him.
Wow.
Yeah, you can't know.
I'm gonna get deactivated.
I gotta get real hot on my takes now at this point.
Probably should get an agent. Hey, GM confirmed the next V8 Supercar / NASCAR Cup car will still be a Chevrolet. So all those rumors of Cadillac and maybe Corvette and that sort of thing gone. So we'll see what it is. We don't know what it is. This was V8sleuth.com. That's that's like the J ski of supercars in Australia, V8 Sleuth, and they had this report. So we'll see what it becomes. Also, what
do you think?
He's up. What's that?
What do you think it's going to become?
I have no idea. I can't keep up with obviously I do some car reviewing and do a lot of car automotive stuff, but in terms of like Chevy's, their focus in terms of consumer cars, I just feel like between the electric idea, which has started to fizzle at times, and the idea of like the Camaro going away, I can't keep up with like what is their direction. So I can't really say. Like I don't know what their brand direction is right now.
He's a little upside down on his V8 supercar knowledge.
Yeah.
No. I know supercars.
Australian joke for you.
I know supercars well. I'm talking about the road brand. I'm talking about the road cars, their automotive side. Where are they going? I just don't have a good sense.
Maybe
maybe it'll be AJ Spark.
Maybe they only have one sedan right now.
Armor.
They only have one sedan.
And what is
Malibu.
it right now? Yeah, the Malibu. Yeah,
so it'll be a
Malibu.
Malibu.
Was in Cup wasn't it for a while? Wasn't it the Malibu in Cup?
The Chevy Malibu. Oh, is that the COT car?
I think it was.
No, it was Impala.
Malibu.
Impala.
It was the Impala. I will say this about the Malibu. It is like I view all rental cars as like, is it better or worse than the Chevy Malibu? Because the Chevy Malibu is the ultimate rental car. Now, as someone who goes through probably 50 rental cars a year, 30 to 50, I would say. It's like the one where I know if there's a choice and I hear Chevy Malibu, I'm just like, just give me the Chevy Malibu, especially if it's newer, because it's like I don't know how to explain it other than it's the ultimate rental car because it's so easy to just do everything. Use Apple CarPlay always works. It's got like,
it's your
to
baseline.
me, it's the baseline rental car. Like it is the rental car out there. So, I don't want to say that that's a good thing for it to be also a NASCAR Cup car.
Well, there's a different editions.
Yeah.
There's different editions of the Malibu. They have like a red line edition, and the brake calipers are red. Which
wow.
I mean,
sporty.
If the brake caliper or if those are red,
it's gotta go fast.
It's fast.
Yeah, that's
Dude,
go ahead. What would you like to say?
This is completely off topic. I'm sorry.
You are bursting at the seams.
We were already off topic. But anyway, I was just thinking, you're telling that story, and I was like, man, I never thought about that. There's so many people in the NASCAR industry who are so well traveled.
Yep.
There needs to be like a NASCAR specific travel podcast. Because travel podcasts are pretty big.
Yeah, that would get about 4 listeners probably.
No, I love hearing about travel. Like hearing little like car renting hacks and stuff. We'll make it a segment on here. How about that?
We'll make it a segment. How about that? I can tell you. I can take you through every hack. I can almost walk through every single airport in the NASCAR schedule with my eyes closed. I can get you from the airport to the track. I can give you my ratings on airports, which has started to change vastly because like Phoenix was by far 0 right next to Kansas, but they added an air train which gets you to the rental car facility now instead of like a 92-minute bus ride that I used to make the joke that it was halfway to LA. So like if you landed in Phoenix and wanted to get a rental car, you just went halfway to LA, you got a rental car, and then you came back to Phoenix. Like it was that ridiculous. Kansas was always genius. 0 until they added the new airport. They built the new airport, which is similar to LaGuardia. And the first time I landed there and they changed it, I was like, where the hell am I? Did I go to the right place? And because they had an airport that was built like obviously pre 9/11. So it was set, but it must have been built in like the 70s because it was built entirely where there would be security wasn't a thing. So it had like individual gates had their own individual security. It was the worst experience ever. There was no food, nothing. They've totally revamped that one. LaGuardia used to be down in the bottom 5, but it's beautiful. It's probably
beautiful. It's amazing.
And I saw they got rated like the best airport in America or something, and I don't disagree. Like it's amazing. Wow. And it's so
a great
clean.
Airport.
And for New York City, like it's got to be the cleanest place in New York City, like by far. Like there's just not even a question.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
The old one is amazing.
Well,
old one was terrible.
So there you go. AJ.
That is Parker's weekly, and we're gonna call it whatever Josh had on the screen there. Got that upgrade hack.
Got that travel hack.
It'll go great with your whole Got That Upgrade brand. This is I'm gonna make you so much money on this, dude. We can sell hats.
You never know where it's gonna go. Got that.
I'm willing to license that hashtag for you. So
Got That Upgrade.
Okay, back to motorsports.
All right, back to racing stuff. Let's rip through it. We've been chatting forever. We did some polls. We're now doing polls on YouTube. So if you go to our YouTube, if you're listening, we do these polls after, I think they're every couple of days, sometimes every day. And one of the ones we do on Mondays for sure is what was your favorite race of the weekend? This is not a shocker. The Cup Series won with 67% of the vote. The Xfinity Series got 12%. F1 got 14%. IMSA got 7%. Little ashamed by IMSA because I was in that race. So our own listeners and viewers voted me down at the bottom. But
I don't know. I disagree with this personally.
What do you think was the best?
I think the Cup Series race was a classic race, to be honest. The classic NASCAR race.
Yeah, but I mean, so was that F1 race. That was also a classic F1 race.
It was, except even through all the craziness, Lando Norris kind of had it unlocked the whole time.
Yeah, I disagree. At the end of that race, Max made a couple of slip-ups. If it wasn't for that, I mean, he was within range of DRS up until 1 lap to go. So
I know, but with the way the track was and the being wet offline, to make that pass,
he probably couldn't do much with it.
Yeah, he wasn't gonna be able to do much. So I thought it was awesome to see him so close at the end, but it was really going to take a massive effort or a major DRS run to, affect a pass.
All right, fair. But is that going to be the best F1 race of the year?
Ooh, they better hope not. I hope not. I hope they better.
I thought it was a great race. That's one of the few races I haven't one of the few F1 races that's at 1 a.m. that I don't fall asleep after the first 5 laps. I
Yeah.
fell asleep after Fernando crashed and was like, I'm not staying up for the safety car. I wish I did because after that was still really great.
Mhm.
I wasn't trying to fall asleep. I fell asleep and I woke up. My phone was dead, and then I watched the rest of the race on my computer. But yeah, I don't even know if I'd say. I feel like the F1's better than the Cup race, honestly, in my opinion.
All right.
Damn.
I like a classic
Yeah.
Cup race, but it's just it's like I don't know. It was okay.
I think it's just
Didn't blow my
it's the
socks
first
off.
F1 race of the year, so you guys had the rose-colored glasses, like, ooh, something different, F1, yay! And it's all starts at
I'm
0, so everyone's
usually
excited. You don't know
stinking on
where.
F1.
Well, no,
I
but you
know.
don't know where everyone's where they're going to come into the season, that sort of thing. So you're trying to see where
Yeah,
they
that's
rank, where they
exciting.
show up. No,
Yeah.
I agree. I thought it was a very good race. I would put the two nearer each other than 67%.
100%. 100%. That's more what
All
I'm
right.
getting at. I feel like
Okay,
they both were really great races. I guess I feel like the vote should be a little bit more split on that. But that's yeah. I don't know. But the IMSA at 7%. Man, that's
disrespectful.
Yeah, it's the best.
I
way to put
mean,
it.
there's no way you can't say that race wasn't on at a time that was convenient for you to watch. So
you had 12 hours to join.
Yeah, true.
it was.
It was behind. The only thing I'd give it is it was behind like the Peacock paywall, so maybe not everybody's like a lot of people saw it.
Fair,
yeah,
but
fair.
If you
I hope
did,
they got a lot of viewers. Internationally, it was on YouTube.
I'm sure they did, but
it was on YouTube internationally.
Yeah.
So, well, we'll be doing that every Monday. You'll see those best race polls. We can only do 4 options for those out there, so it's going to be the top 4 options that we believe have a chance. So like when someone gets on there and they're like, "Wait, what about MotoGP? What about my race at the local karting track? My club race in the Trump Car
figure
Series
8 race?
24-hour?" Yeah, we can't bet
How
it
about
in there.
this?
Although everyone would say it was the best race. We promise you that.
How about this? If there's an option in our polls that you don't see, just say it in the comments, and then if people they just treat your comment, people can treat the like button on your comment as
a
another poll. How about that?
When we can reverse the calculations on that one.
Good internet.
Just don't vote twice. Don't vote twice. Actually,
Good
no,
internet.
vote twice. Vote twice.
No, yeah, go ahead. You can log into another account, do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Vote
You're
early,
gonna
vote
vote.
often. Vote as much as you can.
Don't buy bots.
Oh, we'll take bots. We don't care. That's good internet. Good internet choice there, AJ. Well done. One more poll that was put out, which was which of these Wood Brothers drivers underperformed the most? Paul Menard, Harrison Burton, Matt DiBenedetto. Sorry. Paul Menard got 11%. Harrison got 77%. Matt DiBenedetto, I can't say his name today, 11%. That I think that's a little. I mean, I don't know how to take that one.
Recency bias, I think,
maybe
on that one.
speed-wise. So speed-wise and everything, like, sure, yeah, Harrison Burton, but he won a race.
Yep.
And he put them in the playoffs. So how did he underperform the most?
Yeah, I think that's
like winning is the only thing that matters nowadays. We say it all the time.
In terms of pure performance, though, that's a result. Winning's a result. Pure performance, I see it. I think he'd be I've had this conversation. He would admit that obviously did not go to the level he wanted. If he doesn't win that race, I think he was dead last in points of full-time drivers. So, that does lead credence to the 77% who said that he underperformed. When I look at Matt DiBenedetto's time, he was a fringe playoff contender both years. Was he there 2 years? I want to say that.
Yeah, I think so.
He was fringe playoff contender both times on points alone. So he was really having, very decent seasons. And I don't really remember Paul Menard's journey there, but I don't remember
Paul Menard
maybe a little worse.
He finished 19th in points both in 2018, 2019, and Matt DiBenedetto finished 13th and 18th in points.
Yeah.
So I mean, and that both of those were without wins, whereas Harrison Burton finished 29th,
and that was before
31st,
the next gen.
Yeah, it was before the next
16th.
gen. So they were really relying on being, that was an era in which you weren't going to win. What Matt DiBenedetto did in getting 13th, that was a major deal. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
He did make the playoffs. That means he made it 1 year. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was impressive. All right. So I think the poll was right. let's move on. We're rumbling towards making the longest Money Lap show of all time.
No, we got this. We'll knock the rest of
Not
it out in
even
like 10 minutes.
close. We
I'm
got.
kidding. We've
I
had way
mean,
longer.
We
Well,
got like
the
15
reason I
minutes.
said that was a segue to my next point, which is I did have a tweet this week where this person who has, what's his name, Christian Espinoza, has a condo at Charlotte, and
Yes.
they were testing Cup. They were doing some tire testing for Cup and Xfinity, and so they were on track at the same time. And as a joke, I said, when 1,000-mile endurance oval race with all 3 series, and it kind of blew up, and people took it very seriously. A lot of people wanted it, and I was like, "Wait, what is that? How did this happen?" I didn't mean it seriously. I mean, it would be awesome. It's never going to happen for a multitude of reasons, including it would cost $1 gajillion with these cars, just in tires alone. For the truck series, you get 5 sets of tires, 4 to 5 sets of tires a weekend. They would probably, for a 1,000-mile race, need about 20 sets, I would say. 25, maybe more. The Cup Series, same thing. Just in tires alone, driver changes. None of these cars are prepared to do driver changes like we do in him, so that would be incredibly tough. I mean, I think it would be cool to see an endurance event.
Sounds like
in the
a
Cup
bunch
Series.
of excuses, buddy.
We did do something, Parker. We
What's that?
did do an experiment. We ran an entire season on Rovals with all 3 types of vehicles. It was crazy watching the results because the Xfinity car was by far the most difficult to drive, according to the drivers, given the fact that it didn't have the underbody aero and it was spinning tires like crazy and smaller rear spoiler. So I'd be very curious to see how the lap times compared to each other, which vehicles would be able to go faster or slower, and if they would need to be, I don't know, hear me out on this, a little more horsepower for the Cup cars.
No, I think on an oval like that, the Cup cars would have them pretty handily just because of the grip level compared to a Xfinity car. The Xfinity car would slow down a lot more. So it's a fun thought. It was a complete joke. I mean, if there was an endurance race to happen in NASCAR, that'd be amazing, kind of like what Supercars does, where they do the Bathurst 1000. They have driver changes in a couple of their endurance events. I mean, the thing is, the Charlotte 600 is an endurance event with one driver. It can be as long as 5 hours, 5.5 hours. So, that's that race. I did 5.5 hours in the car over 3 stints at the Rolex 24 in the Lamborghini, but I got out, got refreshment, that sort of thing. Having done the 600 twice now, I can tell you that is a seriously long event. Like that one, I was talking to, who was I talking to? It's a young driver who's gonna probably have a chance to do that race, and I'm not gonna blow up their spot. And I was like, man, what's gonna stick out to you is when you get to lap 200 and you look up on that board and you realize that's only halfway. It's like you're gonna be like, wait, that's only halfway? Are you kidding me? So that race is incredibly long.
What's more of an endurance race, the Southern 500 or the Cook 600?
So Southern 500 can actually be longer by time on average, and I would say it is a more difficult race in that sense. That's the one race I back in 2014 doing the Southern 500, I burnt my right foot, the heel of my foot, to where I literally couldn't wear a shoe for like 2 days. So that was a pretty brutal time. I think that was also my last Cup race for Swan. I think they folded after that race, and it was like one of our better ones. Yeah, I was racing with Danica for like 28th on the last run of the race. We were just crushing it at that time. And I remember getting out and being like, my heel is messed up, and then going to like put my shoes on to go back to my car and walking out of the track, out of the garage, and I was like, no, I can't wear a shoe. This is like a blister the size of a hand on my heel, so I didn't wear a shoe for like 2 days. Yeah.
Wow.
That sounds like fun.
It's what you do in the racing game.
Let's do 1,000 miles.
Can we talk about this sim racing guy
Oh my gosh.
I've been waiting for this all day.
This is so funny. You got to put this up on the screen because I can't remember exactly the tweet. Okay, so yeah, I commented on this video on Instagram where this guy had posted from Phoenix being like, as an F1 fan, is there no track limits here as all the cars go down to the dog leg and, basically cut what they think is the track because they're all programmed from F1 to think that lines mean where the track is, but that's a whole nother discussion. So basically I said, hell no, there's no track limits, and explained why. And then it ended up getting it went like viral in the comments and all these people are chirping at me and that sort of thing. But this guy had the funniest one. He is EKAJXOX. And he said, yeah, easy enough when you have to do is turn left. As a GT sim racer, going to NASCAR is hilariously easy. I qualify top 3 and come first nearly every race against, quote, seasoned NASCAR enthusiast. He has it figured out, guys. He did it.
I think this might be the next William Byron. We need to get Jeff Gordon to contact this guy.
I like the learner's permit and his
profile
there.
photo.
Yeah,
I guess he's from New Zealand.
Wait, what?
Yeah. So he has a P.
It says learner's permit.
In that,
I think that's what the P stands for.
And it's a learner's permit, so you're only allowed to go like a certain speed, whatever. And I was just like, this kid is. It was that what that
he might have
numbers
been
went
trolling
slightly,
us.
well, it went slightly viral everywhere, and it's hilarious. Now he kept backing it up in the comments even further. So I just wrote.
Did he say what class he was? Was he beating on some?
No, he doesn't even say
rookie street stocks.
Everyone assumes iRacing, but I don't even think it's iRacing. It could be Gran Turismo for all he says. GT Sim Racer.
Goodness.
I don't know if they have oval racing Gran Turismo.
They do.
I think they do. Yeah, they do.
I think they have Daytona, which is really
like qualifying at Las Vegas in the Cup car. Like, you're just full throttle the whole time.
I thought there were some people on Twitter that were trying to look up his iRacing name to see what his iRating would be. It was pretty fun. It went far more viral than I thought it would.
Insane.
My response to him was just like, LOL, thank you for this gift. I was like, this is incredible.
Hey, shout out to him. Hey, next time we do an e-racer event, he gets a free entry. Okay.
There you go.
And he gets to sling it out with the best.
Hey, you know what he would be interested in? That video that I filmed last fall that we finally have edited, and it is going out here any minute when we get it out. And basically, it is the idea of giving people like him who think they can be faster than pro race car drivers that chance, and you win money. Stay tuned. Go to my YouTube channel for it, not this Money Lap channel. So it's Parker Kligerman on YouTube. That's coming out either this week or next week when we get it all together. But stay tuned. That'll be fun.
Wow.
Yeah. Let's talk F1. We said at the beginning, there is a rumor they could be going back to V10s. Wait, hold on.
Oh, he's trying. I don't know what's happening.
Here we go. He's trying to play noises.
Did you not hear it?
No, we definitely did not hear it. Were you looking for, was it this noise?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one?
I was not working for you either. Wait, I didn't even hear it.
Oh,
no, I heard it.
That's crazy. Anyways, let's just, everybody clap, I think is the noise that he was going for.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Let's go, V10s. So how is it coming back? All right. So for those that are really knowledgeable of F1, basically there's new regulations coming in 2026, which is next year. And these regulations are actually highly complex, especially for the power units. So essentially it has this mix and requirement of like 50% of your time you have to be propelled by the hybrid system. The other 50% you get to use the internal combustion engine motor. It will be using sustainable e-fuels, which I've been on the tirade of that for about, 5, 8, 10 years. That's the future of motorsport, is these sustainable e-fuels, which are basically clean forms of fuel that can be used in a gasoline engine. And there's been a lot of kickback because it's so complex that they're seeing in all the sim stuff that, one, they're either like really slow, or two, it's just like, this is insane. These rules are going to, just create massive disparity in whoever gets it right and who doesn't because of how complex it is. And there's been this rumbling of people being like, just go back to V10s with e-fuels. Let's go. Let's make it sound amazing again. Well, it sounds like there is a little bit of smoke, and where there's smoke, there's fire, and people wanting to listen. There's been there's a talk of basically foregoing the 2026 rules and staying with the current rules for 2 years and then bringing back V10s, or going to the 2026 rules for 5 years and then going to V10s. Both. The second one sounds very expensive to go through this whole 2026 plan. The other one sounds a lot easier and it sounds less expensive, unless you're someone like Red Bull, who's actually designing their own Red Bull powertrains with Ford, because Honda's leaving to go to Aston Martin, and they've been building those things for the 2026 regulation. So of course they've got to, they're way down the road with that. So I don't know. I don't care what it takes. They're the most, well-funded racing series in the world. Go back to V10s, and you've made me way more of a fan than I ever thought I could be of F1 these days. So,
has General Motors ever produced a V10 engine?
They had to have. There was also talk of a compromise of being like V8s with a hybrid solution in there. But basically just trying to get sound back is what it sounds like. They just want to get away, pardon the pun, they want to get away from this V6 twin turbo stuff, malarkey. So we'll see. I don't know. It's kind of cool. I like it. Bring it on. You guys don't even know. You guys haven't been to an F1 race with the sound of V10s. The first F1 car I ever saw was the V10 at Montreal, and I'll never forget it. It was Ralph Furman in a Jordan in 2003 or 2004. And he came around towards the casino hairpin when I was walking up to the track. You could hear them from miles away, but they hadn't started up that morning. It must have been like Friday morning practice or Saturday morning practice. And he went by, and when he shifted, I remember it like, one, it sounds like the world is ending and an impending doom is coming your way. And then when he shifted right as he went by us, it like hit you in the chest. And it was the most amazing thing. And I had a friend with me at the time who was like scared. And I remember thinking, I want to do that. What is that? So I would love for people to experience that. Obviously we all watch them on the internet and they sounded amazing but there's nothing quite like hearing those engines at 20,000 RPM in that era.
Yeah.
It was the greatest thing ever.
I always forget that with NASCAR. I mean, I'm sure you're numb to it at this point because you go to like a NASCAR track literally every week for the past 18 years of your life or whatever.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
whenever I go to a NASCAR race, I only go to like 1 or 2 a year, maybe 3. Every time I remember, I'm like, oh, right, race fuel. Okay, it smells awesome. And then just everything shaking. It feels like an earthquake. And when you're in the garage and everybody's like warming up their engines or whatever in the morning, and literally you can't comprehend anything going on because like your eyes are shaking and you cannot hear anything. So I can't imagine what those F1 cars were like.
How does it compare to going
like
to
drag racing cars?
Yeah, NHRA, top fuel drag racing.
Yeah.
How does that compare, Parker?
Well, so funny you bring that up. The last time I went to an NHRA race at ZMAX Dragway, walking up to the entrance where they're basically, the tower is in front of you, and then they're accelerating away from that tower on the other side. This was a couple years ago, and I remember walking up and thinking, this is the same feeling I had when I first saw V10 F1 cars, because it's so loud and so visceral and hitting you in such a way that like you feel the sound and the power of it, and this, it's almost scary. And I was like, that was actually that's the last time I've really felt that. And to your point, AJ, the way you just described the Cup garage with all the motors firing and everything, to me, that's like, I was like, man, I have been going to this way too long because I get none of those feelings in there.
Yeah,
None of that at
exactly.
all. When I hear, I'm like, just shut it up. I want to talk to this certain person, or like, can we go in your hauler? It's stupidly loud out here.
Yeah, whenever I go to races, I can always tell who is like a fan and who isn't, like other than like how people are dressed. But because when they fire the engines on, if there's fans nearby, they'll all like jump a little bit.
Yep.
And then there'll be like Jeff Gluck like walking by texting on his phone, and like he doesn't react at all. I'm like, you're like, okay, 1, it's Jeff Gluck, and 2, he's completely numb to all of this at this point, like sound and like feeling wise,
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, let's see if it happens. I'd love to see it. Josh, what's this? Antonelli was making his own race settings.
Yeah, so an article came out. I don't have it like on me right here, but what I was reading is really interesting. Is Antonelli was he had his engineer obviously giving him directives and whatnot. On a couple of occasions, he actually corrected his engineer on certain settings. He was making his own adjustments in car, and he was reporting on other cars around him and their conditions. Very, very high IQ, racing IQ stuff that was reported. And I just thought it was very interesting to see Antonelli going out there, rookie start, and just picking up right where you need to be. Like F1 racing obviously is a whole nother thing, but being able to go into there and not just managing the race car, which I think is a lot of rookies, that's their hardest part, is to just manage the race car, but to actually know what you need out of it and be able to make those settings without your engineering team telling you to do that, and knowing what the car needs from you just intuitively, tells me we could potentially have a future champion on our
Parker,
hands here.
I just want to let you know the reporter who reported on that's name is Toto Wolff. So
I don't know. Did
we joke about me and Parker. We joke about us being NASCAR plants. Josh is clearly working for Mercedes.
100%. You took the words out of my mouth. That's amazing.
Is that for real? Is that the
Wolf who wrote this or what? That's amazing. I will say this. That's a good point, Josh, because one of the things that we talk about,
it was not Toto Wolff.
Okay, we yeah, right. Is his pseudonym basically that he goes under for other articles. The thing about that is important is that we talk about bandwidth a lot with race car drivers, and that is, what is your level of bandwidth allowed or open when you've gotten to the point of like when you driving the car doesn't take all of your bandwidth, right? And when you're mentioning, it's like, yeah, you go to F1, it's the fastest car you've ever driven. For some drivers, that's like takes over, and especially when they're early on in their careers, very early in their first times in an F1 car, that's natural that you just have to kind of rise the level of the car. But once you get past that, then it starts to open up the bandwidth for you to have the ability to do what you're saying, which is like just, correct them on what you should be doing to the car, add to strategy, so on and so forth. And you see it with just Cup, the difference between an experienced Cup racer or NASCAR driver versus an inexperienced one, same thing. Their level of bandwidth and ability to make decisions outside of just driving the car and have that opening in their brain to be like, oh, this is how the race is playing out. This is the strategy we need to do. No, that's not correct. We need to do this, so on and so forth. So yeah, I think it's good. I mean, unfortunately, it's all BS because it's Toto Wolff just planting fake news there. But yeah, kidding.
There's transcripts on this article. He suggested changing, HPP 12, and then Bonington telling him, yeah, actually, I think that's a good idea. Let's go that direction, stuff like that. But anyways, Mercedes, my bank account number is, no, I'm just kidding. But it's, you can just send me a nice car and we'll call it even there. But
perfect. Maybe you could win. Maybe they'll send you some Dogecoin.
Yeah.
Do you want some Dogecoin?
I saw this.
Oh yeah. What is this about?
Dogecoin is sponsoring Devlin DeFrancesco in the Indy 500 at Ray Hall, Letterman, Lanigan. Yeah. So
that's pretty cool.
Is back in motorsports since Josh Wise in 2014. I want to say that was at Talladega when he got funded by Dogecoin, and had they kept all that Dogecoin, considering what it did from that point onward, it would have been better than spending on a race. But yeah, and I guess they have like 3 liveries to choose from: Blaze, Turbo Wave, and Banana Boost. So
wow.
Yeah,
I think it's Blaze for me. I think that
one does look cool. I like
that one. That one's my favorite.
Yeah,
I'm sure this will
hopefully
great.
Hopefully it makes it onto the track and there isn't the sponsorship changes and whatever happens, because I feel like with these virtual currencies, you never know what's going to happen.
Hater.
I feel like I'm not a hater. I'm just looking at track record.
Wow. Jeez. Well, we'll see. Wish them the best. Cars look cool. I like the Blaze one, which is they basically have 3 liveries, and so we like the top one. If you go look,
why are they named like smoothies from like a smoothie place?
I was wondering. I was thinking the same, like they're fruity or something. Like, what do we?
Well, there's like Blaze, which is like the B-Dubs blazing wings, and then there's the other ones are like milkshakes or like fruit shakes.
Turbo Wave.
Banana Boost.
Turbo Wave sounds
Banana
like
Boost does sound like when you get
music.
when you get one of those like protein
Turbo Wave might
shakes,
be like a drink.
and they're like, "You want Banana Boost in it?" And it's like, yeah, I guess I'll have. I guess what's Banana Boost? Oh, it's Banana Boost. And it's like,
it's full of vitamins.
Yeah, it's like 35 grams of protein. You're like, oh, okay. I guess I'll have that. Yeah, no, sure thing. And then you get the like, if you've ever got those smoothies at some of those like workout places, I never know what I order because they just scream things at you. And I'm like, yeah, I guess that makes sense. So appreciate it. Well, that will happen with Devlin in the race. It's like they'll just be offering him
every pit stop. Do you want Banana Boost?
Banana Boost.
Have you hit the Banana Boost button yet?
Oh, dude, if the Banana Boost one wins, at some point in the race, they gotta come on and be like, Banana Boost, Devlin, please hit the Banana Boost button. Yeah,
it's the button hooked up to nothing, but it inspires confidence.
I like it. All right, so last weekend we had some ratings news.
Yeah.
Oh, hey,
what is this?
You guys get the new F1 Lego sets?
I do actually. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back. Let me go grab it.
Okay, I'm sorry, Parker. Go ahead.
No, you guys are just derailing this whole thing. We should just.
I looked over and I saw it, and I was like, I got to show this off. I think the fans of the show will respect it.
No, I do. I think we'll see if anyone comments on the fact that you just put a Lego F1 car up.
Do you understand how popular Lego is, dude?
Popular? Yeah. No, I do get it.
It's ginormous right now.
People love it.
You already put this together.
Mine's a Mercedes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, mine's like halfway.
They sent it to me for that last story that I talked about.
I knew it.
See, that was his payment, dude.
He's a paid shill. I knew it.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It all
no
makes
more Lego
sense now.
But Parker,
interruptions.
Parker, instead of Legos,
okay,
what about one of these?
Whoa!
Hey.
Where do we get one of these?
Now we're talking.
SpoilerDiecast.com. That's my number 48 Spike Light Coolers Chevrolet from last year at Big Machine Racing. I'm wearing a Spoiler Diecast hat if you're watching on YouTube or Spotify. If you're listening, now you know those things. But you can go get one of those at SpoilerDiecast.com, or you can go to Spoiler Diecast and buy anything this month. Use code MONEYLAP for 5% off and become eligible to win that very car that Josh is holding if you're watching on YouTube. And that would be my number 48 Spike Light Coors Chevrolet from Big Machine Racing for the last 2 years. So, yeah.
Dude, you just unboxed it for us. That was sick.
Also, they still have my shirt out there. So if you want to get my PK win, not a win shirt, it's out there. But we will be, I believe they can be cutting those off soon. So you got to go. We sold hundreds. Maybe we get to thousands. Maybe. With your help, we can. Send it to a friend.
I bought one before you offered to get one for the whole team, and then you told me tough luck. So I expect you to sign that diecast so I can put it on eBay later.
Good luck, buddy.
Gotta make his money back.
How do we make money? This is a for-profit, not a non-for-profit. All right.
Josh is just working for the Money Lap so he can get things signed from you and Landon and then scalp them on eBay.
Yeah, that's
I'm going to tell Landon to sign the number so it makes it seem like that signature was done when he was actually racing the car. I know the tips and tricks.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Hey, so a lot of people watched motorsports this past weekend. Over 3 million on FS1 for the NASCAR Cup Series of Las Vegas, which is the biggest cable rating for NASCAR since 2021. So that was massive. The Xfinity Series had just over 1 million on the CW. I wasn't there, so maybe a little drawback. We'll have a couple people back want to watch, of course. I mean, they had some guy named Kyle Busch, never heard of him. So
he took you up on the offer.
He did take it up. He was there.
Wow.
He filled in. He did a great job from everything I hear. And
is he coming for your job?
So yeah, I think he's got a commitment right now. But I think he could definitely have a future in TV if he wanted it. So he's the GOAT of the Xfinity Series. So by any means,
you guys should,
and a 2-time NASCAR Cup Series champion.
You guys should use Wii Boxing to decide who gets to call the race each week. So
there you go. Or just real boxing.
Oh, you've been prepared for that.
No. And then F1 got 1.1 million on ESPN2. Or is it ESPN? I can't remember which one.
I thought it was either ESPN.
It was ESPN. It's
ESPN proper. Yeah, because 1.1 that would be massive. Anyway, so that was big for them because that was midnight when that went on the East Coast and went in early mornings. That's a massive rating, huge jump from the past for them. So we weren't the only ones excited about the F1 season kicking off. That was big. So overall, though, I look at that and I'm like, all three of the biggest motorsports in America, well, minus IndyCar not being there, not racing this past weekend, we're over 1 million viewers each. That sounds well good for motorsports.
Love to see it.
Yeah. Hey, little clap.
I can't hear you guys clapping at all, so I doubt anybody.
Oh,
can hear
really?
this.
No.
Clap.
The mic's designed to not pick up clapping.
It's designed to not pick it up.
It's designed to pick up only your voice.
What in the world? All right. So
was that Mickey Mouse?
what do you mean?
Oh, I thought it was like an old timey radio voice.
Oh no.
We gotta get the clapping in ya. Cutting off that voice anytime soon.
Man, do we have anything else to talk about?
We do. WRC, we mentioned it in the Cole Custer, but the WRC drivers are protesting the FIA swear ban with a vow of silence. Now, this isn't getting biblical, but basically at the Kenya shakedown, they didn't say anything in interviews, and they were only speaking in their native tongue if they didn't speak English natively. And they basically put out this statement saying they've asked for changes. They haven't happened. They've explained their reasons, and they're now left no choice but to do this. And they apologize to all the fans, but they know all the fans support them. I'll tell you what, I support them. Hell yeah. This shit's bullshit. So they need to stop this because I don't care about people's language. It's how people speak. That is the nature of how we speak this day and age. It is 2025. Curse words are not the same as they were 25 years ago. This is the most asinine development by the FAA I've heard. The FIA, to me, is a safety. They're responsible for safety and for guiding the technical rules. But in no world do I imagine them getting involved with the commercial entertainment side. I don't like it. So to me, that's all great content. I just had this interview that I did at the Sebring 12 Hour, if you wanted to play it, Josh. And I used some words that it blew up on the internet. It's all over the internet. It's gone quite far into the internet. And people were commenting, by God, the FIA would lose their minds. This is a $10,000 fine, and they loved it. So I just think it's the stupidest thing I've ever seen. Josh, you're muted.
Oh, he's finding it. He's finding it. It should also be on the money lap. Parker's over here tweeting like a million things every day.
I know.
It should be one of the recent money lap.
Well,
posts.
it went big on Instagram. It did really well on Instagram. The Only Endurance guys reposted it.
Shout out to them.
Frustrated after climbing out of the race car. You were just a couple laps from pitting before the tire went. First off, what contributed to that tire blowing?
Well, I think we got together at the 34. I got him out of 5. I was really good in 3 and 5. Into 7, we went side by side. I undercut him, did the over under, and he just ran into me and shoved me off in the grass. And I don't know if that hurt the left front tire. And then on the exit 17, there's just no room for error, and it just sort of lurched right at the last second. So I don't know if I got the stuff or the tire went away, but for how hard it hit, it should have never cut the tire. So I think the tire went down. It probably had some damage from the 34, which is unfortunate. I hate it for Mario and Misha and everyone at Forte, Huntress Security, Cybersecurity, for giving me this opportunity. I don't make damn mistakes. I'm the race car driver my whole life. Has never been allowed to make mistakes. I don't make mistakes. And I felt like that, maybe I contributed to that a little bit. So I'm just really down on myself. But I love this shit. It's just so cool. I want to come back. It's the hardest thing ever done. My cool suit didn't work the first run. I legitimately thought I was going to die. Thankfully, we got it going for the second stint. I think we'd end up doing a 2.5 or so. I'm close to my minimum drive time, and I hope we can get back in the race. I just feel terrible for everyone here.
I was going to say, our colleague James Hinchcliffe, I think, had an incident once being overheated. So how does that change when all of a sudden that goes out and you've got your whole stint up ahead of you?
And I've been training since the Rolex as hard as I could in case I ended up here. I knew I was going to end up this time of day. It's the hardest thing I've ever done. I mean, stock cars slow down. These don't. And they push you, and it's so badass. And it's so cool to hear that Lamborghini roar and be bumping around with Ferraris and Porsches and everything, but it pushes you really hard. So in this heat, it's tough.
We'll see if they can get back in the fight, but Parker Kligerman, exhausted, but having a
That was the long version.
Yeah.
The one that blew up on Instagram was way cut down. It basically just had the "I love this shit" and then the badass part.
I made a long one for Instagram. For some reason, it didn't post the whole thing, and I didn't realize it's like 20 minutes later. And I was like, okay, well, it's too late now.
Yeah, but the only endurance guys cut it down even further to just like those points. But it was pretty funny. And so my whole reason to bring that up,
money lap one.
my whole reason to bring that up is you look at all the comments and people are like, "This is real, authentic. This is how it's what I was feeling in the moment." And it's like, one, I was absolutely exhausted. Two, I had just been boiled to death when the cool suit wasn't working, and then started to actually have the water inside the suit start boiling basically, and burning my back. So, and then continued to do another stint. So I was like, obviously, and I knew we were on Peacock. So I was like, I'm gonna let it rip, let it fly. That's what I was feeling. So they're gonna lose that authenticity. They're gonna lose that authenticity. They're gonna lose so much content if you try to restrict these drivers and competitors to some unrealistic idea of that they have to conduct themselves in a certain manner when they're in the heat of battle. And it's just like, no, it's not. You shouldn't even be. There should be no mind share given to that. It is pro sports. It's entertainment. It's content. Let them say what they want. Are you guys offended by bad language?
No. I think it's kind of silly. Personally, I think
bad language.
I think no, not the bad language part, but I think you try and you're stifling that heat of the moment opinion, which you can go back and censor that if necessary. All that happens, but when you hear somebody cursing, after a race, I feel like you connect more with their true emotions. If they're sitting there and trying to censor themselves, it feels like they're holding back, and you can tell they want to say more. And it sucks, because hearing that raw emotion is what makes motorsports so unique. You get the athlete right after that moment. They get on there, they get out of their car, immediately shove a mic in their face, or they're on the radio and they say something absolutely just in the heat of the moment, whether you're listening on the radio through a scanner or they play it on the TV. I mean, you go into that, a 10-year-old isn't going to be watching or listening to the scanner more than likely. And if they are, it's not the first time they've heard that. We all grew up playing video games. I've heard far worse than if somebody drops shit or the F word. And it's like, that's not going to bother me. Even as a 10-year-old, that didn't bother me. I'm saying it behind my parents' back anyways at school. Like, come on.
It's not the 50s. No need.
Stop it. We're adults. We can listen.
Yeah,
we're not protecting the children.
People speak. Yeah. AJ, I need you to take our last and final topic here, because I'm disappointed in you.
Why are you disappointed in me?
Well, see, we've been talking about e-scooter for years now. And this person went on Twitter for what someone else
made one post.
Made one post, and it's done, I think, millions of views. You didn't.
Well, yeah, but they're like one of those F1 people. They're like one of those no profile pic F1 people.
It's the weirdest thing.
They're tweeting like 40 times a day,
and they get like
I can't do that.
And they get tweets that just go insane. Anyway, the whole thing is they're showing e-scooter and saying, "I don't need F1 anymore. I found my new favorite sport." So the F1 people are onto our fandom.
They're gonna overtake me as being the Bob Pockers of e-scooter. This person at Thigh Stappen is now the new Bob Pockers of e-scooter, and now
no.
I've lost my
music. The music is just it makes it.
Actually, it's a nice ending music. I think you still have a chance, but you need to get your shit together and start finding more e-scooter content. All right,
I do. Wait, were they showing this on ESPN? Wait, I need to find out how old this TikTok is, because this is going to be like an old broadcast.
Yeah, this is when they first ran, I'm pretty sure. Basically.
Okay. Man, they're showing that stuff on ESPN too.
You did find something else though. Earlier. Yeah, you sent it to us. The power tool drag racing.
I've been wanting to share this with my friends for a long time.
Let me pull it up real quick.
Have you guys never heard of power tool drag racing?
Oh man.
What is power tool drag racing?
No, this is
I don't know how long this
phenomenal.
video is. It's kind of a long video, so we don't have to show the whole
Oh
thing.
my god.
I don't know if there's any music that might like copyright strike us. So
I'll keep it muted. It's
Okay.
Ace Speedway. Oh my gosh. Look at
this
these.
is right near you, Josh.
Yeah,
Oh, this is funny.
I could participate in this. Let me go grab my oh my goodness. Dude, that's
like
insane.
a wooden track. They're on a wooden track and they're like they're powered by power tools, I'm guessing. And the wheels and tires are just they're like the disc you use on a cutter.
They're like saw blades. Yeah.
Saw blades. I was looking for that term. You got it. All right. Thank you.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I can tell you work with power tools.
That one's got a whole spider on the back.
Oh my goodness, that's
Oh
terrifying.
wow.
Bats?
Yeah, with a
That's
bat.
the spider. What the heck?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't watch this far into the video. I didn't know we're making like lemons paint schemes already.
Spider is definitely
that
slow.
one's going so
Super
slow.
slow. Super slow. That's not winning anything.
It's about the journey.
It stopped. Yeah, and now it's blowing up. Oh
now it's
All right.
the whole track on fire.
Well, boys, I think this has been another successful group chat.
Oh man.
On that note, we'll be back Monday with the normal show with Landon and I. And we've got more guests next week. We do actually have more of our new recurring guests that we won't give out. But thank you, Cole Custer, for joining. That was fun. Thank you all for listening and watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, do all those things. Share this with your friends. We're trying to spread the word of great motorsports shows like this. Boys, it's been fun. I'll see you later.
Bye.
Peace.
Thank you so much for watching and listening to the Money Lap. If you like this show, please like and subscribe to us on YouTube. Share it with friends. We want to spread the word of great motorsports shows, of which we're somewhere up and around there. I'm not exactly sure where, but nonetheless, you can also reach out to us anytime across social media or at our website, themoneylap.com, or at our email, friends@themoneylap.com. And of course, you can always leave us a review. 5 stars gets you on this very show. Thank you so much for listening and watching. Goodbye.